Hi, this is Feral Dalrymple, and this is the next compilation of daily drawings that I've been doing on my Instagram. Go check out my Instagram, Feral Dal. Subscribe, get a new drawing every day, and I've been selling these on my Patreon, and when that doesn't work, in the comment section. You can see on this first one, my cat interrupts the drawing, so I had to stop the recording. And this first one I actually tried to not pencil first. I usually pencil these beforehand, do them like 6 or 7 sketches and put them up on my Patreon, and people on my Patreon can choose. But this one I just tried to just go in with straight with pen, just because that's the way I do my sketchbook. If I'm drawing doing a drawing in someone's book, if they buy one of my books from me, I'll just freehand it without penciling. But I was just a little unhappy with the way it was turning out, so I went ahead and added pencils. You can see between the inks and then this color, I did a couple areas where I penciled in some extra things. And and here I'm just coloring it. I color these with a brush and watercolor and gouache. I do kind of a mix of the two. I have a couple little sets of each that a friend of mine, Matt Dick, who's a really good artist, sent to me. The watercolors are whole bean, and the gouache, I'm never sure the name of it. It's French. I'll tell in a future video. And this next one here is a series that I've been doing. I started this week with that first drawing of sort of like teenagers or children or anthropomorphic young people that populate the world of this book I did for First Second in 2014 called The Wrenchies, and a follow-up book I did to it that came out a couple of years ago. I was actually working on it while I was working on The Wrenchies. It's called It Will All Hurt, and they both have similar themes. It Will All Hurt's a little lighter and it's more stream of consciousness, but basically it's like this post-apocalyptic fantasy world where there's magic and science fiction elements to it. And, very, very cartoony, silly stuff, but there's also some dark, scary stuff to it too. So it's not necessarily for kids. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. You give it to your small child, but it's, I think like younger people can read it too and enjoy it. So this is all this week pretty much I've done characters like this that holding guns or weapons, that, fighting monsters and stuff. This next one here is a pencil version, and then I go in and ink these all. Pretty much I've settled on just inking them all with a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, which is my preferred method, but there's been a few of these daily drawings that I've done with just only brush or penciled and then just watercolored on top over the pencils. And some I just inked with a brush too, which is how I used to ink most of my comics, with a Raphael 8404. But now I used to use that for my watercolors too, but now I just kind of use whatever brushes that I have, because the Raphael I was using is worn out and I've been too lazy to buy a new one. So this is I've done a couple of these guys. They're sort of like, I don't know, it's like a cat-headed dude in a spacesuit, space cat guy. And I added a little robot in the background of this one, and a little sort of Mobius style background. And I think most of these were sold on my Patreon, like pre-sold on my Patreon, because I'll put the sketches up there every week. And people that join my Patreon, only $2 a month if you want to get in on it, they can choose in the comment section which ones they want, and then once I've done the illustration, they can pay me for it if they want to. Or I haven't had anyone say, no, I don't want it anymore. But I guess in theory that could work too. But usually people know what they're getting. They know the degree of finish that I'll do to them. Some of them I don't color. The rare one I won't color if I just like the way it looks in inked. But usually I watercolor them, watercolor and gouache mixture. And this one, was pre-sold. There's one of these on here that wasn't, that I just sold on my Instagram. So if someone doesn't choose it on my Patreon, they can just I'll just, when I post it on Instagram, I'll say, hey, this one's up for grabs. If anyone wants it, just say it in the comment section. And then they just PayPal me after that once I'm approved and say, okay, you got it. You're the first one. This might have been the one that I auctioned off, not auctioned off, but made available on my Instagram. And this one I actually liked the way it turned out the best. I wasn't necessarily super happy with the sketch, but when I did the finish, I was the most surprised by it. I was most pleased by the way I did the colors, and I added these like sort of snake things after I did the initial sketch. When I inked it, I just kind of put in these like snaky things in the background, and I just liked the way the character ended up popping, and the color choices that I used made these snake things sort of pastel, and her kind of more gray, monochromatic. And I felt like, you'll see in a second here once it comes up, that the finish, I feel like there's a nice depth to it that I don't normally get with these. And I don't know why that was exactly, if it was sort of the limited colors I used for her and just the choice areas. I'd like to try to do that more. And I actually tried to repeat it with this one, the colors on this character, but I personally don't think it was as successful. This is like I guess like an older teen or young woman warrior in the Wrenchi's wasteland, and she's got like a couple, like an axe and a hammer, and I don't know exactly what her story is, but yeah, I tried to do these sort of stripes in the background that were kind of like a repeat of the snake thing, and I like the way it came out. I'm not upset about it or anything, especially like the blue hair, but like as I'm seeing now watching this, and even when I was working on it, I noticed like when I first start on these, sometimes I really like the way they look, just sort of limited colors with just like a few areas colored, but it's like I don't know exactly when the point is to stop and say, okay, this is enough work on it or too much work. And I felt like maybe I overworked it a little bit. Maybe the colors in the background were a little too bright. I'm not sure, but I mean, I like the way it looks. It just wasn't exactly what I was hoping when I guess when I started on it, I was really excited about it. And this next one, I didn't have a sketch for. This was actually requested on my Patreon specifically. Part of the benefits of joining my Patreon is that you can request drawings as well. I mean, not just picking the ones that I post on there, the sketches, but you can also say, hey, draw me such and such. And a few times people have asked me to draw animals, which I like drawing, just like straight up like, hey, draw this kind of dog. And I'll usually add some kind of element to the background, like you can see on previous videos, I did like a Sid Mead background, or it's usually like a post-apocalyptic type background. But on this one, it was requested that I just draw a sci-fi turtle. So I drew this guy. I think I just looked up on the internet some turtles standing up and tried to, draw like an anthropomorphic dude with all the sci-fi gadgetry and floating screens around him. And this like screwdriver thing that I used in PROXIMA CENTAURI, and I thought, oh, this would be a good guy for. I did a book called PROXIMA CENTAURI that came out last year, and it seemed like this character would fit in well with that. So I might put him in a future volume. I haven't come up with a name for him or anything yet, but I like the way he looked and the way it turned out. So and that was just done today. I just finished doing him and posted it, and now I'm making this video. So if you like what you see, go and check out my Instagram, and if you want to subscribe to that, it's free, obviously, to follow someone. My Patreon, the lowest tier is $2. I go up to $4. You can go to $4 or $8, and I even have a tier on there where you can get a copy of my book Delusional for $35. And that's it. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.